Many sellers in the US housing market are starting to realize that the peak of the housing market is here and it's do or die, sell now, or be stuck with the home for who knows how long, because we really don't know when prices are going to come down, or even if they stabilize, that's still going to be bad news for home sellers, because when prices stabilize and the interest rates keep rising, that's still going to eliminate more and more buyers out there who would potentially purchase their home, because many of them simply will not be able to afford it. Right now, we are literally at the turning point in the US housing market. Inventory of homes for sale rose 9% last week compared to a year ago, according to Realtor.com, and new listings are rising nearly twice as fast in the past 4 weeks as they did a year ago. Also, rising mortgage rates are pushing more and more buyers out of the market due to affordability, and home sellers are starting to realize that the pool of buyers is dropping out there and they need to sell their home before there's no one left to buy it. Now, I know some people out there are going to choose to ignore these things. They're going to say that the economy is doing great and everything is fine and the housing market is just going to continue to rise, which in a perfect world, maybe it would. But the thing is, guys, we have to pay attention to the facts. And the facts are right now that home sales are down, mortgage applications are down, home sellers are seeing less competition from buyers now that they were seeing just a few months ago. Also, even Redfin is reporting that requests for home tours is down 8% from year over year. And we also have price cuts in many markets across the US, where literally 1 in 5 listings now has a price cut. And now sellers are starting to take note that this is what's happening out there, and this is what I've been talking about, guys. Some people think that seller FOMO is not real, but it is, because anybody who's a home seller who has been thinking about selling but still hasn't listed their home for sale is only now starting to realize that this is going to be their last chance to sell their home for possibly another decade, at least, to get the type of return that they'd be hoping to get. Because let's say even if there is no housing market crash and prices just kind of remain flat, right? Then the issue is still going to be rising interest rates, and we can almost guarantee that rates are going to continue to rise throughout the year due to the Fed's aggressive take on fighting inflation. And I personally would say that if you haven't sold your home yet and you've thought about it, then you've almost basically missed the boat, but it's still not too late to try it, especially depending on the market that you live in. You know, not every market moves at the same pace, and there are still markets out there where inventory is still relatively tight and homes are receiving multiple offers. But just keep in mind that this is starting to change in all markets. Activity overall is starting to go down, and we expected to see this happen once the interest rates started going up. And we've even seen buyers starting to take on riskier loans, buyers opting to take 5/1 ARM loans that are basically affordable right now in hopes that they'll be able to refinance later down the road. That's an extremely risky move, and people are doing this still to get into a home, which to me is insanity, but people are doing it. And sellers are noticing this. So the first thing is, if you are a would-be home seller out there, you need to get your house listed ASAP if you want to have any chance at selling it at today's prices and still having some competition on your home. That's the first thing. The second thing is that a lot of you sellers out there who maybe would want to sell are probably feeling a little bit trapped, because the thing is, 80% of US mortgage holders right now literally have a mortgage rate that is under 5%, and out of those 80%, half of those people have rates under 4%. So the incentive to sell right now is at an all-time low when it comes to moving to a bigger and better home, because even though you can get all-time high prices for your property right now, sellers are taking note of what buyers have had to go through in the past year to get a home, and they simply just don't want to take part in that. Or even if they do want to, a lot of them can't afford to, because here's the thing. If you get rid of that mortgage that you had that's, say, 4% or 3.5%, you're going to be looking at rates now closer to 6%, depending on what your credit score is. And some people are paying even more than 6%. I've seen people comment on this channel saying even with excellent credit, they're getting rates at 6.2, 6.3%, sometimes 6.5% on a property that they're going to live in, your main residence. So this is real, guys. And if you're a seller out there facing these issues, you might simply not even be able to afford to move, considering how much prices and interest rates have gone up. Therefore, you could end up being stuck in your home. So my thinking as a longtime real estate agent is this: if you have been thinking about selling at all, you should probably list right now. Don't wait for a few more months. List right now. Just try to get the maximum value out of your home. Have a plan and look at homes already for sale before your house even sells, so you can see what you're going to be looking at if you need to buy another home. Or better yet, if you can find a deal for rent in your area that actually costs less than the house that you're in, then that's probably the best move right now, and just wait it out a little bit longer and see what the housing market's going to do, because chances are in the next 6 to 12 months, we're going to see more and more inventory coming onto the market from sellers that didn't get the message right now, that think it will still be a good time to sell in 6 months from now. And of course, if there's a recession, that could force more listings to market as well. And if you're a home seller that wishes they could move but simply can't afford to, I would be thinking of two different options right now if I were you. I'd be thinking, one, can I rent this home out for more than its total monthly expenses and even cash flow a little bit on the property, $100, $200 a month? Because if you can, that might be your best bet, and just rent the home out, trying to move into a new home. But that also assumes that you have saved enough money for a new down payment on a new home, and you don't need to tap the equity from your current home to move, which for many sellers just simply is not the case. And if you are one of those sellers that would need to sell in order to move up to a new home, your only option is going to be to significantly downsize into a smaller home that costs less than the home that you're in now in order to compensate for the higher interest rates, or you should just stay put and try to make your current home as livable and as comfortable as possible. Because unfortunately, if this is your situation, you're basically out of options. You have nothing else to do. So you might as well make where you live as comfortable as possible and plan on staying in that home indefinitely, because chances are the situation's not going to get any better, guys. Like I said, even if there's no market crash, we're seeing rising interest rates. So your opportunity to sell has already kind of passed, or is right now if you want to take a crack at it. Now, because of the points that we just went over are some of the very reasons why I think that we are going to see home prices drop here in the next few months. Because the reality is, guys, a lot of home sales that happen out there happen because they have to. People die, people get divorced, there are job transfers, and there are many other reasons why people just need to sell a home sometimes, regardless of what the housing market is doing. And I think that when you combine that factor with the upcoming potential of a recession, as well as the fact that you have these sellers listing right now in a hurry to catch on to the hot housing market before it's too late, we're gonna see more inventory keep hitting the market in the next few months. And when more inventory keeps hitting and interest rates are up, prices don't really have anywhere to go besides down, and we are seeing those price cuts coming. So this is what you need to pay attention to if you're a buyer or a seller out there, because the supply and demand dynamics are starting to change right before our eyes, and the best way to position yourself as a buyer or a seller is to just be aware of these trends as they're happening. And by watching this channel and many others on YouTube, you are way ahead of the curve. And if you are a home seller and you're not quite convinced that things are taking a turn right now, then check out this video right over here, where I give you some statistics on how many buyers are literally dropping out of the market right now because they simply can no longer afford to buy. And I'll catch you guys over there.